Unfortunately, this one's going to take a lot of fixing. If the fuselage is twisted, then the airplane's probably a write-off. It's not economical to fix.
Complacency. It may have killed my favorite airplane. This Super Cub means a lot to me. I did my initial tailwheel training on it and documented that process thoroughly. It's on my channel if you haven't seen it. And I was really heartbroken to find this airplane in pieces when I got home from Oshkosh. Regardless of it being fixable at all, we still might lose the airplane because the owner is understandably considering selling it. Renting tailwheel is considerably more risky and less profitable than a simple tricycle gear 172. So I spoke with Dennis about what happened. There are some good lessons here.
Somebody is cut loose for the first time, they have some experience. They're not under supervision. They don't have an agenda other than to just go out for laughs. Statistically, every time somebody hits 100 hours, 500 hours, some nice round number, friends are around or other people are watching them, a little bit of a cowboy attitude, and unfortunately the pilot of this plane was a little bit of both.
So apparently after getting fueled up, the plane had been pushed back to roughly behind this camera position, but he'd forgotten that he'd left the airplane facing the pumps.
And he's not a tall pilot, and this is not the easiest airplane to see out of. No tail dragger is.
So we're not here to beat this guy up, but the takeaway is don't change what you're doing just because you start to get comfortable. So in this case, the airplane should have been moved by hand and turned facing away from the pumps before engine startup. Complacency is an element of human factors or pilot decision making, and Dennis wanted to emphasize that this is a difficult thing to teach. That's essentially what the killing zone is all about. And this specific story is you need to pre-plan your taxi, of course with any airplane, but especially with tailwheel.
The aircraft that was to the left of the fuel pump started taxiing away, and he saw that as his escape route out of the ramp. So he started heading for that, but the entire time that he was heading there, he didn't realize that he was getting closer and closer to this fuel pumping station and the bollards that protect it. And he must have hit it hard because people heard it from miles around. The propeller hit the top of the bollard the way an axe would hit a piece of firewood. Stopped the motor dead. Of course, first the propeller hit it and bounced off of it, and the inertia of the airplane carried it forward until the bollard impacted into the landing gear. Luckily, there was no fire, explosion, leakage, injury. Thank God. Airplanes can be fixed. Unfortunately, this one's going to take a lot of fixing. The propeller is completely destroyed. The engine is possibly completely destroyed. We won't know till we take it apart. What blows me away is how hard this thing must have hit. Now you can imagine 160 horsepower. This propeller is solid aluminum, but it weighs, about a good 40 pounds. And rotating at probably 1,500 to 2,000 RPM, it impacted the top of the post into here.
Yeah.
This is where the concrete part of the post is. This is where the steel part of the post is. And since people have handled it, most of it is gone now, but there was actually black soot here. In that one instant, there's all this heat and there's this big soot stain here. And this doesn't even look so much bent as it looks almost melted. But of course it is just bent. It just hit solid concrete and solid steel, and it never went around and hit the other side.
But it curled.
And if you stand it up like this, I've never seen a prop that looks like a mustache. They've never been bent up like this before. So inertia just literally twisted the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like mangled.
Yeah, obviously beyond repair. And then of course the motor reacts by twisting the other way, and then that's what it does to the engine mount. The engine mount is literally kinked. This used to be a straight piece, this used to be a straight piece, and this one's got a kink in it and is bent. This one is just bent, this is bent. That one looks relatively straight. But the good news is, you see how it's sitting more or less flat on the floor? So that indicates that the mounts themselves are still in a flat plane. If these four mounting points are in a flat plane, then that means that the fuselage itself is intact. If the fuselage is twisted, then the airplane's probably a write-off. It's not economical to fix.
Yep. I'm so sad right now. So we need to make some lemonade out of these lemons. We'd previously produced some pretty cool material with Lee in the shop, and it went over rather well.
All right, well, we got it in here. Let's do it. Let's get the oil up.
So the plan is I'm going to make a series following the process of patching this airplane back together and hopefully get it flying again. And on that note, here's my last landing in Fox Kilo Oscar. It was actually my best wheelie. I'd taken my buddy Marin up for a flight and just rolled 2 cameras. This was sort of a typical flight that I'd roll cameras just for self-analysis. but it seems kind of appropriate to share it right now. Anyway, on a less depressing note, we've got some really amazing stuff to give away in our monthly contest, and this month it's worth $750. Thanks so much for the sponsors for that, and I really appreciate the help from the supporters on Patreon. We've produced some amazing content lately, and the mountain flying stuff with Jason Miller in Northern California is awesome. They do regular trips, so check the description for details on that. And as always, keep your flight chops sharp.
Nice. That might have been my best wheel landing ever.
There you go.
Oh, so good about that. Oh yeah, I was like owning that center line.